There you are. Greetings from Miami Beach, Florida. My blue zone for the moment. I'm here a couple minutes early. I am about to interview one of the great heroes, American heroes, I believe, Maria Shriver. She's a dear friend, and she's also one of the people doing more good in the world than just about anybody I know. She'll be on here in a minute, but I just thought I'd take a moment and say hello to all of you joining us. Chad, nice to see you. He's the one who got me involved with TED. If you haven't seen my TED Talk, it has about 5 million views, How to Live to be 100. And Tavala, not sure who you are, but thank you for joining us. Flores Performance Horses, I love that. Kay Manning, Chadburn, yo, good to see you here, brother. Greetings from Melbourne, Florida, right up the coast. Hi from Sarasota. We got somebody from Australia. Kind Life, Blake. We're going to talk about Alzheimer's disease today. You know, we found an island off a blue zone, actually, off the coast of Turkey, a place called Ikaria, 10,000 people. We had a team of 15 people working for 2 weeks. We believe we interviewed everybody over the age of 65, and we didn't find any Alzheimer's at all. We found 3 very mild cases of dementia, and that proves to me that Alzheimer's can be prevented, maybe eradicated altogether. Who knows if Ikaria is any indication. Hi, Jackie. Hi, Kim. Gonzalo. Hi, Amy. Hi, Rita. Thanks for joining. Got somebody from South Carolina. Saturated fat. We're going to talk a lot about, we're going to have one of the top experts in America, or at least one of the top activists, Maria Shriver, joining us here in a minute. And she's going to talk about, her documentary. She won an Academy Award, an Emmy Award in her Alzheimer's project. And she knows all the top experts in the world. You know, and rather than interviewing 15 experts, I just interview Maria Shriver. She has a new product out I'm very excited about. I've tasted it before. It's called the MOSH bar, or their Instagram handle they just came on is MOSH Life. I see they're coming in right now, right on time. And I love all she stands for. Powerhouse in America. She should be with us for a moment.
Hi,
and
Dan.
Boom, there she and she's there with her handsome son, Patrick, who I met at the Milken Conference 3 weeks ago. You look even better in person.
That was my younger brother, Christopher, who some say is even better looking.
Oh, wasn't it?
We met at dinner. You came over for dinner.
That's right. He came over for dinner, but he needs to use his
Yes,
brain more because
okay.
he's mixing you and Christopher up.
Seriously, you might need some MOSH bars.
Yeah, like a case of them. I like to joke I'm at an age I can hide my own Easter eggs, but that's only before I eat them.
How are
you? Oh, I'm so great. It's so great to see you, Maria. It's amazing to have you. I've been talking about this interview for so long. And, you know, you and I spent time together in Costa Rica with the Blue Zones. We traveled to Cleveland together. We followed a family who was living a Blue Zone life, then living an American life, and kind of lost their Blue Zone advantage. There's some Alzheimer in their family. And, you know, before we get on to the MOSH bar and Alzheimer's, you know, you have such a storied past. You told me once you used to play as a little kid in the White House when JFK was there. You're a lifelong journalist. You have a Peabody Award. You were the First Lady of California. Went on to become an NBC, but more recently, an anchor woman for NBC once again. An Emmy Award, an Academy Award for the Alzheimer Project. Well, it's
said it. Well, you better fix your Wikipedia because it says
That I
Academy
have.
for
I thought you
Daytime
said I got
TV,
an
whatever that
Academy
means.
Award. I thought you
Oh,
said I got an
All right,
Oscar.
Dan, I'm ready
Forgot
for my
about that
introduction
little
now.
award.
And Patrick is going to win an Oscar.
One day.
Yes, he's going to win an Oscar because he's built this company.
Oh, well,
Tell
right
us
now,
what you're
well,
up to, Patrick.
as you already stated, I have the pleasure to work with my fantastic mother on our company called MOSH, which is a mission-driven company aimed to educate consumers about what they eat impacts their brain health. Our first product is our brain bars, which are kind of an on-the-go superfood, nutrient-dense protein bar with brain-healthy ingredients inside, and we raise money for Alzheimer's. So that's kind of what this conversation is with you today, is that it's Brain Health Awareness Month, and we're obviously trying to educate people and raise money for brain health awareness and for Alzheimer's research. And we heard that you know a thing or two about brain health and longevity and BlueZones, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Well, he also works with his son. So his son is running all the BlueZone company. So
That's right.
He knows how to work with a different generation.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go. So
You should have had him on today.
Well, next time I'll invite him. I'll tell you though, there is nothing better than to have a great bond between a parent and child. My son is my best friend. I sense, just having the privilege of eating with you guys. I mean, you seem to be best friends as well as family, and you work together and you do good in the world together.
And that's a
you
big
have fun
part of
together.
Dan has traveled all over the world, and I have so much admiration for Dan and the work he does and the son he is. I met his parents in church, which was really great. And then, as I said, he works with his kids, but he's done so much to educate us all about what Blue Zones are and how we can actually live a Blue Zone life right here in the United States or wherever we're living. So Dan, kind of help people understand. I know your audience knows really well, but maybe the MOSH audience doesn't, about how they can live a brain healthy lifestyle no matter where they are, no matter the how much money they have. What can they do? They can be really connected to family. That's a big thing, right?
That's right. I think you'll probably know this, only about 3% of Alzheimer's is necessarily genetically driven. So if your parents had Alzheimer's, doesn't necessarily mean you will. We found this island off of Turkey called Ikaria, where we interviewed everybody on the entire island over 65. There are 10,000 inhabitants, and we found no cases of Alzheimer's at all, which suggests that it's preventative. And what do these people in Blue Zones do? They're not taking pills, they're not taking supplements, but they are staying active. They're walking, usually uphill every day. They have very strong families, to your point. So they have that social support and stress reduction of support. They tend to be religious, very religious. So they have that one day a week where they're offloading stress. They tend to have a very strong sense of purpose. They eat mostly a whole food, plant-based diet. So there's not a lot of processed foods and added sugars in their diet. And, somehow all of these small things seem to add up to a recipe that avoids Alzheimer's. And I believe that we can import these ideas and this way of living into America. And
I love that. And also,
they
don't go to the gym, which is something you said to me. None of the people who live to be 100 or in these communities that you've traveled and identified, they're not going to the gym. They're walking, right? They're actually working their hearts by the way they live their lives, right? And they have a strong sense of purpose. MOSH is a purpose-driven company. Blue Zones, the company you have, is very purpose-driven. Everything you do is very purpose-driven. So to have some purpose in your life is a big component of a Blue Zone lifestyle, which is based on how to live, with your mind and your body intact for as long as you possibly can.
Well, I think the purpose is a important component, and the idea that you guys have created. I mean, there's so much you guys could be doing with your time, but to create a company whose mission is to create a conversation about brain health through education and research, and providing tools for a mindset lifestyle. And what I like about this, it's not all salesy. This company, MOSH or MOSH Life, came into existence with a purpose to reduce Alzheimer's, to start the conversation. You're not offering a quick fix, but you're sort of bringing this componentry together that we know lowers your chance of Alzheimer's. I think according to the last sort of even conservative estimates, at least 50% of Alzheimer's is preventable. Isn't that what you're finding,
absolutely.
Patrick and Maria?
And I think that people are encouraged when they hear that, because for so long, the kind of conversation around brain health, Alzheimer's, dementia was such a downer. People felt hopeless. They thought, oh, there's nothing I can do. And now people are feeling empowered. They're like, okay, wait a minute. There are things I can do. Tell me what to do. I need to exercise. I need to prioritize my sleep. I need to be aware of what I put on my fork, who I connect with, having a sense of purpose, being a lifelong learner. All of these things make a difference, right? As more and more people get Alzheimer's or get dementia. Today it was announced that Rosalind Carter has dementia. And so people are like, okay, wait a minute, I want to live as long as I can, which is what you talk about so beautifully. And how do I do that to the best of my ability, with my mind and my body intact, so that I can enjoy my family, enjoy my life, and not be a burden to my family? And that has to do with doing things right now. When you're Patrick's age, when you're your age, when you're my age. See, I made you younger than me. I made you younger.
We don't know that's a fact, by the way.
You got to laugh a lot, too. You got to laugh a lot. We're developing, because starting a company, as you well know, it's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of work. We have to
really
test the bars. We have to make sure that everything in it is clean and wonderful and tastes good. And so we have to always say, we have to laugh. We're going to make mistakes. Things aren't going to go right. And we just have to stay at it, because we're building something that's bigger than us, that will be here hopefully long after us. And I think kind of this whole conversation around brain health is pretty new. It wasn't, when I was Patrick's age, it did not exist. Right? You've done so much to change the conversation, and we're trying to do our part to change the conversation as well.
Well, you two have lived with a family member with Alzheimer's. Do you want to talk for a minute about that? Maybe that's where some of the roots of this company
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly where the roots of this company originate. I mean, obviously my grandfather, my mom's father, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, 2 decades ago now, right? Early 2000s. And I would say that this company stems really from my mom's work with Alzheimer's and her involvement in work with her father, kind of her caregiving, her caretaking of my grandfather with his disease, kind of just slowly watching him losing his mind, and her kind of being frustrated over the lack of information that was out there, and the lack of knowledge about Alzheimer's and certain brain-related diseases, and what could we do to kind of to not get Alzheimer's or to prevent the disease. And that's kind of what embarked her journey on creating the women's Alzheimer's movement, when she learned about women being disproportionately affected by Alzheimer's, having 2/3 of the cases of Alzheimer's. So really, we like to say that this company is decades in the making, and it really just stemmed out of the passion that my mom, well, you could talk about it more, but her involvement in Alzheimer's. And then really, when I moved back home with her during COVID, and which was really fun, we got to not only work together, but we got to live together again. But really, it was, I watched her. Oh yeah,
Patrick, does she make you clean your room?
Yep. She's tough to live with. But
I'm glad all moms
joking. But it was just amazing, because she had done, coloring books to raise money for Alzheimer's. She had done, normal books. She had done documentaries. She'd done TV shows. She testified in front of Congress, all these different things. And when COVID happened, part of my background is in food and bev. And I basically said to her, food is one of these main, pillars of a brain healthy lifestyle, is diet. Why don't we create a company that's mission driven, that raises money for Alzheimer's, but also talks to consumers that are my age about what you eat impacts your brain health. And that's really how the company was started, was kind of centered around that ethos and around that mission, that, this cross-generational, relationship between my mother and myself. We could talk to different audiences, and we could use a food company to raise money and to thus, get more education towards Alzheimer's research, and really educate consumers about what they eat impacts their brain health.
And I always say, Dan, that your son, Patrick's generation are the caregivers on deck. And all of us, God willing, if we live long enough, we're going to need a caregiver at some point in our lives. And the best job that we can do is to keep ourselves healthy and independent as long as possible. And Dan served on the Alzheimer's task force with me. Governor Newsom made me the chair of the task force, and I wanted to get the best and brightest people here in California to tell us what we could do to better prepare as a state and a country for all of the people who would be getting brain-related diseases. And Dan said to me, well, I don't normally do well serving on task force. And I said, well, you'll do very well on this one, don't you worry. And now we're going to have a pilot program in California where a city is going to become a blue zone city. And we're going to look at what is the impact of living a blue zone lifestyle on a city, on people of all ages, all economic backgrounds, all ethnic backgrounds, and see if they adapt a blue zone lifestyle, which is how they eat, how they live, how they work, whether that changes their brain's trajectory and their whole life's happiness quotient. And we hope MOSH will be a part of that. But I think it's really important to remember that people are in the driver's seat, as you always say. He's done an incredible cookbook about trying to teach you how to take these age-old recipes and put them into your own kitchen. You can use some MOSH bars in your recipes, Dan.
I love that, sort of a crunch or sprinkle on top thing,
yeah,
or a MOSH loaf. How about that? Take 10 bars, mash up, add beans.
So Dan, what were you going to ask?
Well, I want, your website, moshlife.com, talks about the ingredients in the MOSH bar that promote brain health. Can you talk about that? And by the way, several people have asked how to spell it. It's MOSH.
That's my mom's. It's my mom's initials. Maria Shriver Health is what it stands for. Actually, someone just asked what it stands for. So there you go. But I think one of the cool things about our company is that we offer other things besides products. We're a mission-driven company. It's really about why we exist. And so we have, a blog. We put out about 10 or 15 different articles a month about things that can be beneficial for brain health, ways to sleep better, ways to eat better, ways to live better, things that aren't selling anything, just pushing our mission forward. We've been really beneficial. We've raised now over $100,000 for Alzheimer's research. So it's been really a really, awesome journey, and just educating a lot of different people. And that's kind of why we like to do these Instagram lives, to talk with experts like yourself about educating people. But I think you mentioned this earlier. Our bar is not meant to, tell someone eat this and you're not going to get Alzheimer's, because that's not true. What we do like to do is say that we have, ingredients in our bars that are good for your overall brain health, that support a healthy brain, like almonds, like flax seeds, like omega-3s, no added sugars, healthy ample amounts of protein, nutritional fats, vitamin D, vitamin B12, functional mushrooms like lion's mane, ashwagandha, so on and so forth. So those are some of the things we've incorporated into the product. It's not easy to do that, to make it still taste, delicious with no added sugars and with all these different ingredients. But we also talk a lot about on our website other ways that you can be kind of mind and brain healthy without our product, just in your normal day-to-day life.
And due to your influence, we have coming out in the fall a plant line, which we're really also super excited about. And we are trying to build this company, Dan, with the customer, with the consumer. So as people have suggested flavors, they've suggested, okay, can you have a plant line? Can you have this flavor and that flavor? And that's what's been really exciting about starting it direct to consumer, is that to listen to the consumer. Patrick was really big on that. He said, look, let's spend the first year or two talking to the consumer, talking to the customer, see what they want, see what they're open to, and build it with them, and then go to retail. Because having a conversation about brain health, it's more people are talking about it post-COVID, I should say, than before COVID. But still people, they don't see their brain. I'd be interested in what you hear. but they're like, my brain, can I really eat from my brain? Or how do I make friends with my brain? Or can I actually work with my brain? Does exercise really help my brain? Does meditation really help my brain? I think people are still haven't developed a relationship with their brain in the same way they have with their bodies. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think we overlook the power of simple things in our lives. You know, just walking, for example. So walking uses 200 muscles. It builds up those cognitive reserves we need, especially as we age. It's a much more brain-intensive exercise than you might realize. Getting enough vitamin B12, for example, which you get from flax, very important. Enough iron, very important. Yeah, basically eating a whole food plant-based diet is going to be support your brain. Now, there are a number of things that work that simply eating right and getting exercise won't address, but you lower your chances of suffering from dementia or you know, getting Alzheimer's from doing the right things. Patrick, I'm curious, what do you tell people your age? Because most people your age aren't thinking about dementia or, you know, age 50 or over maladies. What do you say to your friends?
It's interesting because I think, you know, it like my mom said, the past, you know, decade, brain health has become a lot larger of a topic than it was. We know a lot more today than we did, you know, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, especially towards what affects Alzheimer's, what could help prevent Alzheimer's, and things of that nature. I think that people that are my age are actually way more in tune and interested about their brain health and about, you know, longevity of life than we ever were. And maybe that kind of COVID maybe spurred that and got people more interested and intrigued about their actual health. But we have a lot of customers that are my age. I'm 29 now, but, you know, we have a lot of 30-year-olds and people that are even younger. We have a lot of parents that are buying it for their kids, or their kids that are buying it for their parents, so on and so forth. But I think that there are a lot of things that you talked about, whether that's just walking, you know, every day everyone's wearing their wearables, their Apple Watches or their Whoop bands and stuff like that, and trying to get their 10,000 steps, or they're being more cautious about sugar intake. Obviously, that's been one of the fastest growing trends in the past year is low sugar and zero added sugar. You know, they're doing being more cautious about what they're eating, looking at the nutritional fact panels. They're exercising more, prioritizing sleep.
How they work too is a whole other.
How they work and just the communication and socializing with people. You know, a lot of different things.
I think what's also interesting, Dan, is a lot of the people who've come to apply for jobs at MOSH who are Patrick's age. I'm by far the oldest person at MOSH, but they have a parent struggling with dementia or Alzheimer's. They have a grandparent. They've seen this now firsthand, and they want to do something about it. This generation is very purpose-driven. They want a job that has meaning. They want a job that makes a difference in the world. They're very focused on that. They're constantly reading about the endangerment of the climate, the, you know, population control. They're talking about things that perhaps I wasn't talking about at their age. So they want to spend their work life doing something that has meaning. So they want to come to work for a company that they think will make a difference in somebody's life. It's not just a job. And I think that's a really inspiring thing about this generation. And they also know, you know, firsthand, they, as I said, have grandparents and or parents that are struggling with their own cognitive health.
You were also saying that Alzheimer's disproportionately affects women. And I also know that when you purchase a MOSH bar, you donate a significant percentage of the proceeds to women-oriented Alzheimer's organizations. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Why women?
Well, women are 2/3 of those who get Alzheimer's. Every 65 seconds, a new brain develops Alzheimer's, and 2/3 of those belong to women, and no one knows why that is. So 10 years ago, I started the Women's Alzheimer's Movement. We did the very first Women's Alzheimer's Prevention Center in partnership with the Cleveland Clinic a little over 2 years ago. The Women's Alzheimer's Movement has now partnered fully with the Cleveland Clinic. And my goal there is to not only fund $1 million worth of research into women's brains, but to develop the kind of preeminent center for women's health, because we lag decades behind the research on men. So we know very little about women's long-term lifespan and health span. We know very little about perimenopause, about how the brain changes with the loss of estrogen as we enter menopause. We know very little. We're now learning more about the effects of hormones on women's brains. And when you look at some of the studies that we've funded, you can see the brain shrink a little bit as it goes through perimenopause and into menopause. Might that be a reason? Might it be that women have been on birth control for a long period of time? Might it be that women are predisposed to autoimmune diseases or depression? We don't know. So that's why we're trying to fund the research that we think will lead us down a path to an answer that will benefit men and women.
Castle Andrew writes in, probably because
That's
women
true.
worry and stress more.
Well, I don't
Maybe
think
it
it's
just comes
that
down to
simple.
that.
I
You know,
don't
women
think it's
tend
that
to be more
simple, but women
compassionate.
definitely stress more, they worry more, they ruminate more. That's why meditation is good. That's why teaching women to prioritize their own sleep and their brain health. Women have traditionally not prioritized their own lives, and getting women to prioritize that and not see it as a selfish move, but something that is a benefit not only to their own lives, but the lives of their families. Women are CEOs of their households, in addition to CEOs of companies. So there are a lot of things on women's plates, you know, kind of avoiding Alzheimer's has to be front and center.
Plus, you
Yeah.
know, women live longer than men, so there's just more years to be around to, you know, suffer the ravages of aging. Tanya Gottlob says, clean snack bars are great to have to go as a go-to when you're unable to prepare a homemade healthy snack. So there you go, endorsement of the bars. Well, how do people, well, first of all, people listening right now, what's the best thing they can do if they want to
Well,
get
first of all,
involved?
they can, you know, come on to MOSH Life, become a subscriber, start eating the bars. If they like it, they can become a brain health warrior. They can pass on the message of what we're trying to do. They can get involved in Alzheimer's prevention in their areas. They can look to become caregivers. There's so many different things that they can do with different organizations in this area. But I think prioritizing their own brain health, helping their parents, anybody who's older than them. You know, we hear a lot these days about loneliness. That's something you've spoken a lot about. I think befriending somebody who's older than you, working with someone who's older than you, perhaps about what they're eating. If you have any involvement with a lot of these nursing homes or retirement homes, much of the food that is served in those places is terrible. You could involve yourself in changing the menus at those places. I've learned so much about reading labels from my son, who my daughter takes out half the products in my house because she thinks they're not clean or my makeup is not clean. There's a whole new movement, right, about how to live differently than my generation lived. So I think if you are Patrick's age, prioritizing your brain health, prioritizing the brain health of your parents or your aunts and uncles or friends that you have, but also making friends with somebody. Ageism is alive and well, and you can do a lot in determining how an older person feels and how they look at their life by befriending them.
There, by the way, there's good research by a Yale researcher named Becca Levy, who showed that just having a positive attitude towards aging and older people lowers your own mortality by as much as 40%. And there's no pill or supplement that can promise that that impact. And so I think you're right on. Well, tell us, I know we only have 3 minutes left here, but what do you do, Maria? You have an incandescent brain, and you're over.
Dan, you're going to need more than 3 minutes to hear this answer.
To stay so sharp?
Uh,
Well, I can take.
I think that was snarky. That was a little like,
4.
I'll make it very short. What do? I spend as much time with my kids. I spend as much time with their friends because I learn from them. It makes me hopeful about my own future. I try to prioritize, like you're saying, walking. I do a lot of that. I try to prioritize my meditation. He's the one that's yawning over here in the background. I'm not yawning. I really do believe, yeah,
You need a marsh
Patrick.
ball,
I really
Patrick.
believe my best days are ahead of me. So I have a really positive attitude, and I work at keeping it so, and I work at having meaning and purpose in my life, which really helps me every day get up and get excited about coming to work.
Well, you are a national treasure, and it warms my heart to see you two sitting together on the couch and ribbing each other and loving each other up and doing it for a good cause. I'll be subscribing to MOSH Life. I can't wait for the plant-based version, but we'll get out ahead of it. Thank you for taking this time. Remember, it's moshlife.com. You can go to their Instagram. Well, we're on their Instagram. Follow them, subscribe. By the way, I read a number of the articles on MOSH Life. It's a great place for research. It's aggregated. It's beautifully curated. It's easy to read. You don't have to dig deeply into those obscure scientific papers. Just go to moshlife.com. And
well, I want
you
to
guys
close with thanking you.
Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
I've learned so much from Dan
my
over
pleasure.
the years. I've traveled with him quite a bit, and he has great joy in his life, great purpose. I always say I want to come back as him. He's like riding his bike. He's going all over the world.
We'll come back as each other.
There you go. There's the end. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Love you.
All right.
Okay,
We love you. Thank you very much. Bye.